Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. So I wanted to do an unboxing today, kind of, an unboxing of two different groups of figures that I've just recently purchased. One I paid like 15 bucks for, I think. The other one I paid like 13, 14, something like that. So good prices individually for the lots and the figures included, but it came out to like 30 bucks roughly for everything that you see here included. And then there's also a figure that I was really impressed with and shocked by, that I paid like 10 bucks for, or 11 bucks, something like that. I forget exactly. But some really cool stuff, some really cool additions to my collection, and stuff that may or may not get reviewed because it's kind of like older vintage stuff. So I wanted to show it off to you guys and show you guys the fun stuff that I got in the past week or two. So the very first lot that was like $15, I think, roughly, maybe even a little less actually, might have been like the $13 range. We have an Invicta Iguanodon. And yes, I do already have this figure. I have this figure like 2, maybe 3 times. This might be the 3rd time, but it's a figure that I'm really in love with. I love the vintage Iguanodon look, so anytime I can buy another one, I'm always interested in it. And on top of that, it's something I've wanted to repaint for quite a while, so having this extra here, I'm definitely going to repaint this one. There was also an Invicta Tyrannosaurus Rex. He unfortunately looks like he's lived a pretty rough life and he's a little bit beat up. His detailing isn't quite as nice as it probably once was. He's definitely rough around the face area, but it's not necessarily the reason that I was interested in the lot, just a fun extra included. And then the final Invicta figure that was included is also the Invicta Megalosaurus. I remember there was a time I wanted this figure so bad. I spent so long searching for one, and I scored one for like 13 bucks, I think, on eBay, and I was so happy about it. And now I have, this is I think the 3rd one, although this one also has some damage. There's like damage to his foot there, there's some damage to the tail, and just generally he doesn't look like he's in all that good a shape. But I actually have 2 now that I want to repaint, so this will probably be one of them. I may be able to clean him up a little bit there and make him look a little bit less hideous as far as the material and the way it's kind of crumbling off of him. And then there was also this little Stegosaurus guy right here, and the cover to a Jurassic Park watch, which I actually used to have this watch as a child, with a Dilophosaurus. Just random, he's a little dirty there, but just came right out of the box to show you guys. There's also this little Ankylosaurus guy, and actually, I am wrong. I thought that was all the Invictas. And we also have the Invicta Stegosaurus as well, which I totally forgot was included in there. So 4 Invictas for, 15 bucks or 13 bucks, I forget again, plus these little guys. And actually there's still more, but that's still a really good deal already for just these figures you see before you. There was also this Brachiosaurus, and then there was also this little Triceratops guy, which they're only like half figures. But then there was also the definitely Dinosaurs Stegosaurus, which is a figure that I do have, although this one is in really, really good shape. That thing looks like it's almost brand new, doesn't really seem to have any paint scuffs or anything on it. And then there were actually these little hatchling figures. I don't know anything about these figures. There was that one, and then there was also this one, which almost looks to be some sort of like a raptor, a Deinonychus or something, but it appears as though you kind of squeeze them and they spit water because he does have a hole right there in his mouth. But I don't know anything about these. I tried to look on the eggs to try to find maybe like a brand name or something. Could not find it, so I'm totally clueless as to what those are. If you guys happen to know, make sure you let me know down in the comment section because I'm very intrigued. But the final figure that was included with this lot, it's the entire reason that I really wanted it, but just of course the fact that these others were included was kind of like the reason that I pulled the trigger, because I knew I was getting a good deal on so much stuff. But it's a figure that I had as a child and I've since lost. I've been looking for it for years, and I've really wanted to get it back in my collection, which is the definitely Dinosaurs Deinonychus. It's a really nice looking version of the vintage style Deinonychus, and it's a figure that, again, I played with tons of times as a child, so even if I do find mine at some point in the future, it's not going to be in half as nice of shape as this one is. This one's in really, really good shape, which is quite impressive for being a definitely Dinosaurs figure, as most times they're usually really beat up because many kids had them and many kids abused them, like myself and my brothers. So I'm really psyched to be able to finally have this figure back in my collection and in such good shape. And I thought, again, for all of this, that was a great lot and a great price for 15 bucks or 13 bucks or whatever I paid, I can't remember. And then the second lot, which I had paid, I think it was right around the $15 range again, $14, $15, something like that, is including some of my favorites, some AAA figures, and this is one that I only recently acquired the very first one of to add into my collection, and since then I now have, I think, 3 of them. It is the Edmontasaurus. It's definitely a really hard to find AAA figure, but a beautiful figure for sure. And again, I don't have this one specifically. I don't have this color scheme. I don't believe I have a different one previously, so I'm happy to have another color scheme of this figure. There was also a Disney's Dinosaur Brachiosaurus, which I have about 6 million of probably already. And then another AAA figure, a very large Stegosaurus with a really cool looking paint scheme. I don't know if I have this one for sure, but either way, I'm really happy to have another because these AAA figures are so beautifully vintage. They're just really, really good representations of like that old school style dinosaur. Each and every one of their figures pretty much perfectly represents the way dinosaurs were portrayed when I was a child. So I'm always happy to get more of these figures, and they're really highly detailed, like beautifully done for their time. And then we've got the big super fat chunky Protoceratops, which I already do have this figure. I think I have actually this exact paint scheme, and if I do, I'm going to repaint one because I'm really interested to see what one of these figures would look like with a more realistic paint scheme on them other than what we get here from the figures themselves from the factory that created them. But it's a really cool looking Protoceratops, and I'm hoping kind of that I actually do have this one already so I can repaint him. And then we have a toy Smith Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is a pretty cool figure. I did not have that one in my collection previously, so I'm pretty happy to enter him in. Very interesting looking Tyrannosaurus right there. Then we have one of the most horrendous scenes ever, which is a K&M, ooh, we just dropped a K&M Velociraptor, but half of his lower jaw is missing, but I figured I would bring him in and show him to you guys just because of the fact that it's included here, even if it is very unfortunate that the poor thing seems to have been chewed apart. And then we have a beautiful Ukrd Dimetrodon, and look at that. That is a really, really nice interpretation of the old school Dimetrodon. Really cool looking paint scheme on it as well. Love that kind of hanging skin in the throat. Pretty much, again, as vintage as it gets. I always loved that they always kind of portrayed like prehistoric reptiles and dinosaurs and stuff with like that hanging skin in the throat. That was a really cool addition to the model, really taking me back to my childhood, I will say. Beautiful, beautiful figure. I think I have that one already, but I don't have that paint scheme, and I actually may not even have that exact model. I'm not entirely sure. There is also the Schleich and Hangara, and it's a figure that I also have already, but it's a really nice pterosaur. Definitely one of Schleich's nicest pterosaurs, I will say. So it's fun to have him included in there as well. A Ukrd Parasaurolophus, who is a little bit too tall, apparently, to be in frame. And again, another perfectly portrayed old school style dinosaur, really beautifully detailed, pretty decent looking paint scheme, but nothing great. It's not my first choice as far as a Parasaurolophus goes. And I know I have this figure, but I don't know if I have this paint scheme. I'm kind of hoping that this is another one where I do have that paint scheme so I can give this a repaint and check out how nice it looks with some better paintwork on it. And then the final in this lot is the Ukrd Allosaurus, who is stepping on the K&M Raptor right there. But another really cool vintage interpretation of an Allosaurus, and all of the AAA and Ukrd figures are exactly that. They are like that picture-perfect old school image of a dinosaur, and I am absolutely loving each and every one of these figures. I've been heavily trying to collect these guys over the past year or so because I've just totally fallen in love with the Ukrd and AAA figures, and I'm really happy to now have even more in my collection, especially due to their rarity, as they are getting more and more rare as time goes on, and they tend to get a little bit pricey. So I like picking them up in these lots where people kind of don't really know what they have, so you can just purchase a whole bunch of really cool figures that are pretty rare for really cheap. And again, another lot of figures that I thought was a pretty darn good deal. And then the final figure that I have here is HUGE, it is not something that I expected to be so huge. When I had actually seen the listing that somebody had this up on eBay, I saw the sculpt and I thought, well, that's a really, really nice looking, again, vintage dinosaur, a vintage version of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I thought, you know, that's definitely the type of figure that I would like to have in my collection. It's not something I've seen before, so I was really interested in it. And I went ahead and placed a bid on it. Luckily, nobody else bid on it at all, and I won it for like, I think it was like $10 or $11, something like that, and that's like with shipping. And I kind of expected it to be maybe about 6 or 7 inches tall, maybe, and it's just kind of like one of those really cool cheap dinosaur toys, but I thought it looked decent enough that I'd purchase it. However, when I actually got the box and opened it, I was really quite wrong, because this figure is huge, absolutely gigantic, and I don't know, again, who makes this at all. I don't know anything about this figure. I had just seen a listing on eBay for it, and threw in a bid because I thought it looked like it could be something that would be potentially a pretty fun figure to include in my collection, and since I had never seen one before, I thought I better not waste the opportunity. I might as well place a bid in case I don't see one again, and I am so insanely impressed not only by the beauty of the figure, but by its size, because it is huge. To show you how huge it is, I'll actually bring in Mr. Papa Rex, who is always lurking nearby for size comparisons, and you can see there, he is just so insanely small in comparison to this Rex. Again, if you guys know what this Tyrannosaurus is, let me know in the comments, because I have no idea. But what I do know is that it is absolutely awesome and absolutely huge, and I'm so happy that I placed a bid on it now, having this incredibly nice vintage Rex here in my collection. So those are my newest additions to my collection, some stuff that I just wanted to show you guys that I thought was pretty cool overall. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.